Lassiter Factor.
What's up, all my movie-loving maniacs? This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor, and today I'm going to talk about Toy Story, which was re-released in theaters for its 30th anniversary, so of course I went to go see it, so let's review. Now, in case you're one of the few people in the world that has never seen this movie, Toy Story is about a bunch of toys that come to life. Woody, he is the favorite to Andy, but then his position gets challenged once Buzz Lightyear, an action figure, a space action figure at that, becomes the new favorite, and so Woody has to come to grips with that, and meanwhile the two of them, they go on an adventure in which they have to get back to Andy's house once he's separated from all the other toys. Now, there are two conversations one can have about the original Toy Story. You can talk about how great of a movie it is, or you can talk about the importance of how it changed the industry. In fact, some people would argue that this movie didn't change the industry changed because of how it changed the landscape of animation. You gotta think, this movie came out in 1995, just a year after the original Lion King. the the Disney Renaissance was in full effect and was starting to peak a little bit with Pocahontas, but then this movie came out and it just felt different. And of course, it is a very nostalgic movie for me. Like this is probably one of the top 90s movies. And yeah, I had this on VHS. I wore this VHS tape out, and of course I have the second one on VHS. I remember having all the toys, including the toys from Burger King. In fact, the Toy Story toys that had an impact on my childhood was, I believe, these also came from Burger King, in which you had almost a life-size Buzz Lightyear and Woody, and you can actually put them on the green RC car and just ride them around. But on top of that, it was still a great family film, and I still feel that way 30 years later. And watching it on the big screen for the first time, just like the original Lion King from last summer, just so many nostalgic emotions came over me, but I was also able to see this movie in a new light that I'm just not able to see watching it on my home television. This movie is just so iconic for a number of reasons, from the characters, the writing, the jokes, just the jokes in themselves. Like, for example, when he meets Buzz Lightyear, and then Buzz Lightyear tries to correct Woody, and he says, "I think your word you're searching for is Space Ranger," and then Woody says, "The word I'm searching for I can't use because there are preschool toys around." And so many iconic lines too, "To infinity and beyond." But I just love how this movie just sets up the world for the toys. You got to think, these are toys that come to life when the humans are not looking, and they have their own little culture and system. But the themes in this movie also work too, because Buzz Lightyear, when he comes to life, he thinks he's the actual real life Buzz Lightyear. He thinks he's an actual space ranger, and then once he has that just crush for him, he's goes through an identity crisis, and then goes through some type of depression. Then Woody has to tell him like, "Hey, being a toy is a lot better than being a space ranger, and there's a kid across the street, and he loves you not because you're a space ranger, but because you're a toy." And it just shows that, hey, if toys can have purpose, then so can you. And the toys in themselves, they find solace in basically making the childhood of Andy awesome. And of course, Woody and Buzz are voiced by Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, who played these characters so well. These are definitely some of their most iconic performances right here. And really, shout out to both of them, because you got to think, this is the first computer animated movie, and they took a real gamble on this, because at one point, Billy Crystal, he was supposed to play the voice of one of these characters, but then he declined, and sure enough, he would go on to be in another Pixar movie. But shout out to Tim Allen and Tom Hanks for taking a chance on this movie, because it definitely paid off, and this franchise has been going on for 30 years. And shout out to some of the other voice actors within this movie. I mean, you got the late Don Rickles playing the voice of Mr. Potato Head, the late Jim Varney playing the voice of Slinky Dog, John Ratzenberg played the voice of Ham, Annie Poots or Potts, however you pronounce her name, she plays the voice of Bo Peep, who will become a very important character in the fourth movie. You got Eric Von Detten, who plays the voice of Sid, who is this kid that the toys are afraid of. because all he does is destroy the toys, and he makes great for the climax of the movie, which is my favorite part. So many iconic moments and iconic characters and iconic lines within this movie that I just can't think about it in just this one video. But hey, what can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said? Granted, some of the animation, it doesn't quite hold up to today's standards, but this movie is still a masterpiece in my book, and the animation still looks good, even watching on a big screen. And it's also just not because this movie really is the first for Pixar, the same way Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first for Disney animation. But to me, this movie, it's more than just the blueprint. It is the one. Toy Story absolutely gets the hands up emoji because it is a masterpiece. Thank y'all so much for watching. I'm not going to ask, have you seen Toy Story? Because odds are you probably have. So I'll just ask, who's your favorite character from Toy Story? And what's your favorite moment involving Toy Story? Let me know in the comment section below. This your boy Bangful B of the Lassiter Factor. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.